Welcome to Relationship Mastery, a podcast for those who want to learn how to master the art of creating happy, healthy, and loving relationships. Please join me, Adey-Jones, and my co-host, Barry Selby, each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific for a lively and informative conversation on everything to do with relationships. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another week. Hi, Barry. Thank you for joining me again. I hope you are feeling much better after a bout with COVID.
I am. Thank you so much. Much better to be clear-headed again.
Good. So this week I wanted to talk about my own life experiences. I often do. And I was teasing Barry earlier. I was saying that we could either call this show When Enough is Enough or Breaking Up with Your Viking Fridge Freezer. And I've got more appliance stories to.
Goody.
Oh my God. I have been remodeling my home for the last 10 months. And, it's so funny. We always say that sort of, the microcosm and the macrocosm and, what you do in a small area of your life is like, it's reflected in a larger sense too. So I've been very aware that where my codependency shows up, where my Mrs. Nice Guy, too nice, too, sort of accepting and things like that occur. And then what happens is you just get to a point where you're like, enough is enough. And it's because you've been, suppressing a natural response to things. And I'll share very briefly. So my Viking fridge freezer, I have had 3 of them in the last 5 months. And these are giant, gorgeous, top of the line, brand new, latest designed fridge freezers. And they've never worked. From the moment they've been put in, they haven't worked. So, they keep replacing them. And I'm at the point now where it's like, okay, so they need to apparently bring me my 4th one. And I have no faith left. I have completely no faith. It's like, it's not even like they worked and then they broke. It's never worked. So I think it's just a really bad design. I think they need to remove it off the market. I think they need to stop delivering another one to me because it must be costing them a fortune to keep sending me these brand new ones as well. But they just can't be fixed. So it just made me laugh that here we go again, I am just like mispatient, misunderstanding and everything like that. Miss as in I'm too understanding, I'm too patient.
And
I keep giving second chances, third chances, fourth chances. And both my son and my boyfriend are like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you just say, keep your damn fridge and refrigerator? I want a different brand. So I've reached that point. So that's the question is, when do you know enough is enough? So I know enough is enough when I actually lose it. And I'm just like, I've reached my, that's it, done.
Reach your limit.
Yeah. So share with me, Barry, when do you know enough is enough?
It's funny because I'm looking back at my own experiences, both like in property type things and also relationship type things. And it seems like my enoughness, that limit, that line across, is pretty immediate. Mm-hmm. I don't tolerate, or that's the wrong word because it sounds demeaning. I don't put up with things that pull me away from myself repeatedly. Actually, let me back up a second. Before I did all this journey, because the thing is, actually, okay, now as soon as I said that, I got the idea what to talk about or something. Because again, for the last 10, 20 years, it's not been an issue because I've found myself in a very conscious way of choosing to say no and to stop something repeating itself. However, before this, I talked on our conversation before about being bullied in high school. And I realized when I said there was a time when I didn't stop it immediately, which was then, it was so obvious now looking back at it, because I spent basically 5 about 5 years in high school in England, being bullied by particularly these 4 boys. There are other boys too, but they're the 4 core members of the gang, so to speak. And I hit my when enough was enough in the 5th year. when we were doing the class I was taking in high school called technical drawing, which basically was like draftsmanship. This is way before computers. We were doing like T squares and pencils and all these different compasses, all these fancy architect drafting type skills. And the thing is, was funny at the time, looking back in hindsight, is before Second World War, my father was starting to be an architect, which was that sort of skill set. I didn't realize at that point I was doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. I never thought I'd follow my father. Okay, the sidebar. So what happened was in the class, because we're sitting up with our own drafting tables, so we're all sitting very spread out in the class, and one of those four boys was sitting next to me, and he decided to make the most of the time he had to prod, poke, threaten, cajole, trying to basically, in conscious terms, disturb my peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so he basically had, because we had these things with dividers, which are like compasses with points on both ends, because you had to mark like distances and stuff on the drafting table for those people who don't know this stuff. And so he would try to poke me with them because it was 2 points. Like, oh, a great weapon, he was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept, flinching, getting out of the way. And I finally got so fed up, enough was enough. I grabbed my T-square and I smacked him across his wrists, but with the edge. So it drew blood. And as soon as it happened, part of me was like, oh shit, what have I done? What monster have I unleashed? But what happened was I'd hit my limit. It was enough was enough. I can no longer keep putting up with being fear-based and reactive and put upon and basically bullied. And that was a turning point. And the funny thing is what happened after that, nothing happened after that. They stopped being as provocative. They still looked at me like, if only sort of thing. But some part of them felt that it's almost like I stepped into my strength, not even realizing I'd done so. I was just reacting out of like, I'm done with this. I'm no more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently it worked because the rest of that term, I didn't say I had like, the best friends with them or anything like that, but I had peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big shift.
It's so interesting. It's like and I'm listening to you, and I'm and I mean, it's like I said, I can honestly say after all the work I've done, I still notice where I just get caught, where I just trip up. And I, I used to describe my sister that's a year older than me then, her way of dealing with life was off with your head, off with your head. When she was done with you, she was done. And, all those people don't know what off with your head is. It's I think Alice in Wonderland, it's that sort of. But she really had this off with your head, and I always visualized myself as running after her, collecting the heads and trying to sew them back on the bodies. It's like was
Yeah.
seriously, it's like everything can be fixed. It's okay. Everything needs a second chance, and that was just my mindset from an
Mhm.
early age. Was always you don't write people off. You don't even write your fridge freezer off. But it just was such a perfect metaphor for that. Oh God, I'm still doing it. Even though I'm a much healthier boundaries now and I'm much clearer on what I will and will not accept within my relationships, I can still see that there's that part of me that is very, very willing to put myself second, to put my
Mhm.
discomfort second,
Yeah.
this wanting to give people another chance. Um, and it happened again yesterday. I had a wrong sink delivered a few months ago, 6 months ago, and by the time I got home and it had been installed, it was the wrong one. It was a lot smaller than the one I had ordered. So I had to have my whole countertops recut and the sink removed and all redone. And it was definitely the manufacturer's issue. They owned it, but for 6 months they've been trying to tell me that they're working on it to get me the refund for the cost it took to have it removed and put in again. And then yesterday they finally said, we've got it, we've got a check, we're going to be sending it to you, but we're going to be only sending you half the amount because we don't believe that we think you're something like that. Oh, it was talk about flipping a switch of patience. It was like, enough is enough. And I just shot this email back going, hold on, do not cut that check. The check it needs to be for this amount. And if it's not for this amount, you'll be talking to my lawyer or small claims court or whatever it is. But it's like, and I saw again, it was like, oh God, here we go again. It was like I hit that enough is enough. But it really does take me obviously a long time to hit that point because I've been
Right.
so patient for 6 months waiting for this refund. And so it's just I'm just popping to my, oh my God, here I go again. I'm better in my relationships, but clearly not when it comes to manufacturers and issues like that. So I wanted to really talk today about what are the signs to know before you hit the wall like I do. And it's like really in my face, enough is enough. And one of the things is to really notice if if what you're going through, whether it's in your romantic relationship or with your dealings with contractors or manufacturers or whatever it is, that if it is wearing on you, if it's creating stress and anxiety, um, because for 6 months I've been sending an email every week saying, just checking in again. So 6 times 4, that's how many emails I'm shooting off to remind them to deal with this problem. And
Right.
that, I wasn't aware of it so much, but that is stress producing, that you
Yes.
have to keep on somebody. I mean, it shouldn't be my responsibility. I submitted the invoices. It was as clear as day what the issue was. I had photographs and the order number and everything. But I was not noticing or really, really paying attention to myself that I had the right to get pissed off basically months ago, not
Hmm.
up until yesterday. And to really pay attention to that because it's such a habit to just, for me anyway, to negate my own needs, to keep being overly understanding rather, to be overly accommodating. And it's a really important thing to, as I say, recognize the stress and anxiety that's within you when you're taking too much SHIT from people, and that you're suppressing your own, sort of needs and wants to accommodate them.
Hmm.
So what are some of the? So I know you have to go back all the way back to when you were a teenager
Well,
because
I'm just
you're not like that anymore. But
like, the thing, and this we talked about before as well, just to sort of put it in this context, is in my early dating life, again, before I started doing this conscious journey and really becoming aware of my own patterns, is that I would always bail if there was an argument. It was like, there was like, when as soon as an argument, it's like, that's enough. I'm out. I can't be with it. And I would shut down and quit. And I missed out on a lot of things. And I've learned, obviously, I learned that was not the wisest choice. But on the other side of that, what I've since been on this journey for a long time, to about, it's only one time and done. I know there's a part of me that sometimes that thinks like if I'd given them one more chance, it might have gone differently than if I just simply said, no, that's enough.
Mhm,
So a part of me has shifted and has softened a little bit, meaning that it isn't, because that's the thing about when enough is enough. You know, the when is really conditional about what's going on.
mhm,
And so for me, what I've been really discovering over the last several years is it is conditional based on who I'm around and what's going on. Because sometimes, like when something happens, and like, that's enough, done, I'm out, and I walk away. But other times, it's like it's pushing on my buttons, but no, there's less something learning in here. There's something worthwhile in here for me. Or there's more in it than I'm giving up on,
mhm.
or I'm giving up on the good stuff as well as the bad stuff. So let me get past this and stay in, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, the enough is enough really is almost merit based. It's not like a hard and fast rule. It's always this way. It's more about conditional based. Like saying with the fridge freezer, I'm frankly surprised it took you this many times before you said enough is enough. But I, but also, I get a sense you were probably attached to that particular model being in your kitchen. You had this sort of desire for it to be this way. And it's like, okay, fine, one more chance, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
You're
And
absolutely right. It's because all my other appliances are Vikings, so it matches the you know
yeah,
the range, the dishwasher, the wine refrigerator, the microwave, and it's like, oh, I'm going to have one that doesn't match. So there was an incentive to just keep having this one work and not have I'm over
so
that now. I'm over it. But
so you have a balance of what are you putting up with versus was it worthwhile, and finding that balance point of when you say it doesn't work anymore.
yeah, but you brought up something that is really important, and I remember when I was in therapy after my marriage fell apart, and I discovered a lot of truths that that I hadn't been aware of before. Put it that way. but I was still prepared to see if I could make it work. And
Mm-hmm.
and I do remember my therapist saying to me at the time, "You will never leave this relationship doubting whether it could have worked or not. You have literally spent all the time and turning over every rock, everything possible," which is so true. And I often say to my clients, I've just had this experience last week where a client of mine went back with an old boyfriend, and he did exactly what he's done every single time before. And there was this period where she was like, "How could I have done this? Why didn't I?" All this. And I was like, You needed to take another look, because there was a part of you that was still attached to him. There was a part of you that felt that maybe had you given it every chance possible, now you can walk away free. So there are no mistakes. There are no regrets. You've been given a gift. You know for sure who he is. You gave him a massive, great big chance again, and he's done exactly what he's done numerous times in the past. So yes, be done, be done, be done, be done. But don't beat yourself up for it. And it's the same with me. I think if I had reacted sooner and said no, I want a different model, every time I saw that it wasn't the same model as everything else in my kitchen, I'd be going, or should I have just had that
Right.
third, fourth, or
Yeah.
whatever it was, one delivered in case that one worked. I will know now for sure that this is not a product I'm going to give a fourth chance to. This is something that I need to replace. I need a different model, a different brand rather. So
Yeah.
so there is I like what you're saying. So there is that place from going from when you were bullied, accepting and accepting and accepting, and then like losing it, and then being maybe a little rigid then in like you're enough and enough, when enough is enough barometer was so low that it wasn't healthy. And maybe there is something in between, like off with their heads and me stitching heads back on. Maybe there's somewhere in between where you give people second chances, but you don't tolerate the abuse to where you're feeling you know, physical as well. I mean, not just the emotional, stress and anxiety that you can feel, but the physical symptoms, the lack of sleep, the worry, the headaches, the emotional feeling stuck, Groundhog Day. I mean, I've definitely been feeling like Groundhog Day. And
Right.
and it was physically affecting me too, because sometimes the alarm would go off in the middle of the night and I'd hear it. I'd have to get up, go to the refrigerator, open it, and switch the alarms off. So it was having such an impact. And yeah, I suppose it, you know, I'm surprised too that I was so. But when people are making an effort, that's when I also feel like I'm more lenient and I'm more accepting, because I can see they're trying. They're trying.
Right.
But with this last episode with the sink thing, they were just rude. And again, at the end, to just say we're only going to send you half the money for the invoices you sent me. We don't believe that this is the issue, and that ticked me off big time. I was like, done, done, done.
Well, bringing it back to relationships for a second, because
Yeah.
that's the theme of our focus. I'm referring reference back to one of my own clients that happened recently, where basically with our work and with working on the forgiveness and making peace with herself, she made the choice. I wasn't encouraging, but she made the choice to go back to her ex and back together with him. And similarly to what you said about your client, the same thing happened again.
Mhm.
But the thing is that there was something different in the sense that when she went back the second time, she had a different set of she didn't way of seeing things when she went back. So she didn't let it happen as badly the second time because she'd done the work inside. So she basically healed the patterns and the interlocking system she had with him, because there was a way of being with him that kept it happening a certain way. So by changing her wiring, so to speak, and so she wasn't born in the same way when she went back, and he started doing the same old thing because he didn't do any work. She did the work. It's like she caught it earlier, so she didn't get wounded as much.
Mhm.
And the gift for her was when she said enough was enough, she was at peace, which is a really wonderful gift.
Yeah.
And the challenges for a lot of us, like I said, when I was younger, when I was a kid, my enough was enough was fueled by anger. It wasn't based on a sense like a neutral, like this is the way it is, and so it is sort of thing. It was like, no, I want revenge,
Mhm.
and it was that sort of feeling. So the real maturity of this is when you can come to a place of knowing enough is enough, but from a place of centeredness where you just simply say, you know what, I'm walking away because I trust myself and I take care of myself. And that's the thing that I think we all work better at, is how to be more self-aware and also self-caring, so that our choice point of saying this is enough doesn't come at a price of our own suffering or own frustration or upset.
Mm-hmm.
We get centeredness, you know.
No, I 100% get you. And that's how I feel about this, saying to these people, I appreciate you keep giving me a new one, but I think we have to accept that the product is faulty. And
Mm-hmm.
we can both walk away with peace, knowing that we both gave it the best shot possible. You know, they
Absolutely.
certainly did, as I say, keep giving me brand new, you know, out of the box, massive, great big fish freezers. But it was a walking away. And again, it's always a relationship. It doesn't matter whether it's an intimate relationship or a love relationship. We are constantly in relationship, whether we're in relationship with ourselves or with others, whether they're vendors or clients or partners or children. It's all, you know, we are, you know, we're not isolated. We're always in relationship with another. So to have
Yeah.
that awareness of how you're showing up, are you being too hasty with not giving somebody a second chance, or are you being too understanding? Are you constantly putting yourself in other people's shoes? Are you which I tend to do a lot, is putting myself in other people's shoes. It's like that's just my natural, that's where my instinct goes, is to try and see it
Right.
from their perspective. And that's good to a degree. It's just when it ends up costing you too much. And that's that knowing. Again, my therapist used to say, resentment is your body's way of letting you know that you gave more than you could afford to give. And that just, to me, is just an absolute perfect description. When you start
Yeah.
feeling angry, see, I haven't felt angry about my fridge freezer. I've just felt frustrated.
Yeah.
But I wasn't angry because they were taking responsibility and they were trying to rectify the situation. When somebody is completely blatantly disrespectful, disregarding, and things like that, that's when I hit the anger. And that's when I knew I had been giving more than I could afford to give, because that anger is coming from that resentment of like, hey, I've given you long enough, I've given you this. But it's so interesting what you were saying about, and it really is. I sometimes I just say, just, you know, because a lot of times the clients I work with, they do go back. They just
Mm-hmm.
get pulled back in. And my main thing is go back as many times as you need to get clarity. Because the
Yeah.
last thing I'd ever want somebody to do is walk away. I mean, I'm not talking if it's a physical, if it's a domestic violence situation, absolutely not. Sorry, you're
Mhm.
putting yourself in danger. And even in
Right.
psychological uh, abuse, it's putting yourself in danger. But just, you know, in a somewhat normal relationship and you're having second thoughts or you're not sure, and have another look. Be sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, give yourself that gift. It's not a, you know, because sometimes people say, well, what does that look like? It's like, who cares what it looks like? You need to be at peace, and you need to know for sure that you are walking away with, you know, a clean slate. You're sure about whatever you're doing is the right choice for you, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. That's the thing is again, it is, what's I'm looking for, dependent upon where you are and what's going on, and having the choice be in your hands, but making it from the point of view that it's really honest to yourself. And that's the thing is, you know, we talked before in shows about being true to yourself. That's what it comes down to, is when you're really honest with yourself, does this work or does it not work? And what do you need to do about it? And if it's something where the behavior of the other entity, person, corporate, whatever it is, will change, then it's worth waiting for. But if it's clear they're not doing anything different and you are simply banging your head against a brick wall, so to speak, like being in insanity, that's the point where you need to decide, am I willing to keep being that insane, or am I willing to be honest with myself and say, no, this doesn't work? And from that point, you can make a better choice, because the challenge is, especially if somebody you love, or especially if it's family, where you have kids, that um, behavior, whatever it is, where it's cheating or something else, is something that you may have things on the other side of the scale where you need to stay because of that, because of the kids, or because of this and the other. it may come down to, though, you got to make a different choice of those two, which is to leave and make the family safe at the same time. So there's always different ways of looking at things. So what I'm saying is that we're not going to give you the exact answer. You should always do it this way, because it's going to depend on what situation and circumstance. But recognize that if it's happening again and again, where is your point of being done? Where is your end of tolerance line where you know it's enough and you can't do anything about it? And again, like I said earlier, can you handle it from a place of centeredness versus a place of like, I've had enough, I'm done, and throw something at the wall and walk away?
Mhm.
Can you get to the point beyond the rageful upset to a place of self-respecting centeredness to leave the right way?
Yeah. And talking about this for a second, and again, in not all the work I do, but a lot of the work I do, again, is with that sort of the narcissist and the codependent. And the thing that trips people up again and again and again, if there's just general behavior that's just is ongoing, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so you go back and nothing's changed, the behavior's the same, whatever, then it's easier to walk away and say, oh, I came back, I looked, it's the same behavior. But what happens in the narcissistic codependent dynamic is the love bombing, which can last 3 months to even 6 months, depending on. So it can really look like somebody has changed, that the situation is different. And it's so you don't think you've walked into the same situation again. You think that they have either missed you or realized the error of their ways or whatever, and they're not going to do that behavior anymore. So you get sucked back in, and that's where for me, my therapist used to say to me, this will last about 3 to 4 months. And I say, no, it's different this time. It's really different because actually, it's been 3 months and 3 days, and he's still being loving. But after 3 times going back, I could set my clock to, how long that good behavior, that love bombing could last. And it
Right.
definitely has an expiration date. It can only go so far. And while they're, depending on how egregious the last ending was, how much they feel they need to win you back, whatever that love bombing is, it's
Mm-hmm.
so seductive because it gives you everything that you've ever wanted in that relationship, what you got in the beginning of the relationship. So that's
Oh, yeah.
what keeps you there. It's not like you got together with an abuser that you always knew was an abuser. The love bombing you get from a narcissist for those first 3, 4, 6 months, it's incredible. And then when it starts going bad, and then they see they're losing you, they love bomb you again, and you get hooked into, oh, that's the person I fell in love with. Oh no, that was always an act. It's always an
Mm-hmm.
act to win you over, and they will
Right.
keep putting that act on. But sometimes you keep. I needed to see it 3 times that this is
Mm-hmm.
not sustainable. This loving behavior is an act. It's not who they are at their core. Everybody has a sort of a baseline they go back to unless they've done a lot of work, an awful lot of work, and they really want to change. So they will
Right.
resort to that whatever the abusive behavior was.
Which is why they seek us out for help.
Yes, exactly. Well, not the narcissist.
No, 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 no.
There's people with
those those who want to change and heal this once and for all.
exactly. Yeah, no, it's the narcissist. It's always the partners of narcissists that come into coaching or into therapy because they're the ones that they want to fix the situation, and they're willing to say, tell me what I'm doing wrong, show me what I can do right to make this work. Whereas the
Right.
narcissist is just telling them, it's all you, you're crazy, you need to fix yourself. And we all know the story. We've done a lot of narcissistic shows, but probably time for another one. Where are we, episode 90, 91 now, so we need to do a little recap on the narcissistic qualities
Which,
that draw us in and keep us stuck in unhealthy relationships.
that's another episode.
Okay, well, I think we have exhausted this one. So, yes, before you hit the wall of enough is enough, pay attention to how you're feeling, pay attention to the anxiety, the stress, the feeling stuck, the feeling like it's Groundhog Day, nothing's changing. Maybe it's time to say enough is enough.
Maybe indeed.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody. It was great having you again, Barry, and I will see you next week.
See you next week.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. We trust you enjoyed this episode and invite you to share this with your friends and loved ones. In fact, please subscribe to our Relationship Mastery podcast. That way you'll get each new episode fresh and shiny as soon as it is released. We'd love to hear from you as well. So go ahead and enter your questions and comments at relationshipmastery.show. Take good care. We will connect with you in our next episode of Relationship Mastery.